Hello all, this is M. Sandeep Kumar and I welcome you back to my YouTube channel Math with Sandeep. We are in the chapter of limits and in today's video let us discuss about the limits of the form 1 power infinity. Limits of the indeterminate form. Okay, 1 power infinity. Okay, very important model questions. So first of all we'll start by proving these two limits. Limit x approaches 0, 1 plus x whole power 1 by x equal to 1, and limit x approaches infinity, 1 plus 1 by x whole power x equal to e. So first we will prove these two limits and then we will use these limits while solving the remaining problems. Okay, some problems are written on the board, so we will discuss around 10 to 12 problems in this video. Okay, first let us prove this two limits and then we will see how to solve these problems using them. And if you are new to the channel, please do subscribe to our channel and let us start. First let us see how to prove this particular limit. Limit x approaches 0, 1 plus x whole power 1 by x is e. Okay, let me take LHS. Limit x approaches 0, 1 plus x whole power 1 by x. Directly if I substitute x value as 0, we are getting 1 plus 0 in the base and 1 by 0 which is looking like infinity. So we are getting 1 power infinity form. So it is an indeterminate form. I already told you why this is indeterminate form. Because if it is 1 minus, we will get proper fraction, power infinity, which is 0. And if it is 1 plus, then it is a improper fraction, power infinity, which is infinity. So we exactly doesn't know whether it is going to be 1 minus or 1 plus. So this 1 power infinity can be equal to 0 or it can be infinity. We do not know. That's why it is indeterminate form. Okay na? So anyhow, but the answer is not going to be 0 or infinity. The answer is E. Let us see how. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, dear students, I'm going to use this formula in logarithms. What is it? A power log m base A is equal to m. I'm going to use this particular formula. So it is equal to limit x approaches 0. I'm going to take e power logarithm of 1 plus x whole power 1 by x with base e. So look at this, these two bases are same. If these two bases are same, then this entire function is equal to 1 plus x whole power 1 by x. So therefore I wrote 1 plus x whole power 1 by x as this. Using this formula, I can write m as a power log m base e. So I have used it. Next, what, dear students? We also know that log of a power m is equal to m times log a. Another property of logarithms. The power of this power m will become coefficient, right? So anyhow, that is what happens next. E power. This power 1 by x will become the coefficient of log here. So 1 by x into log of 1 plus x base e. And already we know the expansion of log of 1 plus x. Let us use the expansion of log of 1 plus x. So which is e power 1 by x into the expansion of log of 1 plus x is x minus x square by 2 plus x cube by 3 and so on. Dear students, already we have discussed this concept in the topic limits using expansions. You can see it in this playlist of limits. Okay na? So remember all the expansions, they are very important. Next I can take this by x inside, then what do we get? Limit x approaches 0, e power x by x is 1 minus x square by x is x by 2 as it is, plus x cube by x is x square by 3 as it is, and so on. Now you can substitute x value as 0. So you can substitute x value as 0, you will get e power 1 minus 0 by 2 plus 0 square by 3 and so on, which is equal to e. So that is how we have proved this particular limit. What is it? So limit x approaches 0, 1 plus x whole power 1 by x is equal to e. Then how do we use this in problems? I'll give you a note. Okay na? How can I use it in problems? See, if x approaches a, then if f of x is approaching 0, then limit x approaches a, 1 plus f of x whole power 1 by f of x is equal to e, because instead of x we have f of x. That's it. So remember this. Limit x approaches a, 1 plus f of x whole power 1 by f of x is also e, when if f of x is approaching 0. Okay, now how can I use it? For example, let me give you a simple example. Limit x approaches 1, 1 plus log x base e whole power 1 divided by log x base e. So what is it, dear students? If I directly substitute x as 1, I will get log 1. Log 1 is 0. 1 plus 0 power 1 divided by log 1. Log 1 is 0. So 1 divided by log 1 divided by log 1. That means 1 divided by 0 is infinity. So it is approaching 1 power infinity form, and obviously this is our f of x. If x is approaching 1, log 1 is 0 only, na? F of x is approaching 0. So 1 plus f of x whole power 1 by f of x. So it is in the form of this. What is the answer? The answer is e. That's it. It is in this form. Instead of f of x, we have log x base e, where the f of x is approaching 0. Correct or not? So it is in the form of 1 plus f of x whole power 1 by f of x, which is equal to e. But remember, f of x must be approaching 0. If it is approaching any other number, then I cannot write the answer as e. Keep this in mind. That is how I will use it in solving the problems. Okay? You remember, important note. And at the same time, dear students, one more proof. Limit x approaches infinity, 1 plus 1 by x whole power x is also e, and we can prove this using this. Okay, now see, just observe here. What I will do is to prove this, but before that, what is LHS? 1 plus 1 by infinity. 1 by infinity is 0, power infinity. So this is in the form of 1 power infinity. Okay, now so let us see how to solve this. To simplify LHS, what I will do is I will take x is equal to 1 by y, or y is equal to 1 by x. So dear students, if y is taken as 1 by x, then what happens? If x is approaching infinity, then y is approaching what number? 1 by infinity, which means 0. Correct or not? So then what happens to the question? LHS. Limit. Instead of writing x approaches infinity, I will write y approaches 0. 1 plus, instead of 1 by x, I will write y whole power. Then x becomes what? If y is 1 by x, then x is 1 by y. So it is 1 by y. So this and this both are same only, na? Instead of y, we have x. That's it. Limit y approaches 0. 1 plus y whole power 1 by y is e. So therefore the answer for this is also e. Okay. E is approximately 2.71. E is the irrational number. I hope you know it. Okay. Now let us start solving the problems. So here is the question. Limit x approaches 0, 1 plus sin x whole power 1 by x. A simple question. Okay, na? So obviously, if I substitute x as 0, sin 0 is 0 only, na? The base is in the form of 1 plus 0, which is 1, and 1 by 0 looks like infinity. So it is in the form of 1 power infinity. So obviously what I will do is, how I will start solving, please observe. Dear students, the base is in the form of 1 plus f of x. If x is approaching 0, our f of x is also approaching 0 only. Na? When x is approaching 0, then sin x is sin 0. Sin 0 is also 0. Correct or not? When x is approaching 0, sin x is approaching 0. So our f of x is approaching 0. And remember that limit f of x approaches 0, 1 plus f of x whole power 1 by f of x is equal to e. So that means what? If it is 1 plus f of x, I want the power as 1 by f of x. Correct or not? If it is 1 plus f of x, I want the power as 1 by f of x. So for that reason, what I will do in next step, limit x approaches 0. If it is 1 plus f of x, that means if it is 1 plus sin x, then I want the power as 1 by sin x. So dear students, what I have did is, in the power, I divided with sin x, so I should also multiply with sin x. Correct or not? And already what we have in the power? 1 by x. Of course you should write whole power 1 by x, but the powers anyhow they will get multiplied. So what I have done here in this next step, in the power I multiplied with sin x in the numerator and denominator. Okay, now next dear students, limit of this is going to be what? It is in the form of 1 plus f of x whole power 1 by f of x, whose limit is e. So this becomes e, and limit is given only for this. Limit x approaches 0 sin x by x. And already in trigonometric limits we learned that limit x approaches 0 sin x by x is 1. So therefore dear students, the answer is e power 1, which is e. The answer is e for this one also. Okay, now let us answer next question. Limit x approaches 0 cos x power cot x. So once again, if I directly substitute x as 0, I'll get cos 0, which is 1, and cot 0 is not defined. I'll take infinity because we are not writing exact value. Cot x is approaching infinity. Okay, when x is approaching 0, cot x is approaching infinity. Keep this in mind. We are getting the indeterminate form of 1 power infinity. Indeterminate form of 1 power infinity. Okay, so anyhow, how we will solve this? Observe, if I convert the base into this form, I'll get the answer as e in the base. So for that reason, what I should do, I should have the base as 1 plus something, 1 plus some function. So I want 1 plus in the denominator. For that reason, what I'll do, dear students, what I'm going to do is, I'll add 1 for cos x. Since I have added 1, I will also subtract 1. And observe, dear students, if it is 1 plus f of x, when x is approaching 0, what about f of x? Cos x minus 1. If we substitute x as 0, cos 0 is 1. 1 minus 1, 0. So when x is approaching 0, cos x minus 1 is approaching 0. So it is in this form. Now the base is in the form of 1 plus f of x. If it is 1 plus f of x, the power should be 1 by f of x. So 1 by, what is f of x here? Cos x minus 1. Okay, now since I have divided with cos x minus 1 in the power, let me also multiply with cos x minus 1 in the power, and already we have into cot x in the power. Of course, whole power cot x only, the powers anyhow they will get multiplied. Next, dear students, this will become how much? It is in the form of 1 plus f of x whole power 1 by f of x, whose value is e. So it is e power, and you can give limit for this alone. Limit x approaches 0 cos x minus 1 into, instead of cot x we will write cos x by sin x. Observe one thing, if I substitute x as 0, I am still getting 0 by 0 form. This is 0 and this is also 0. I am still getting 0 by 0 form. I should do something next. So what I am going to do is, let me take minus common, and if you take minus common, e power minus limit x approaches 0, cos x minus 1 is 1 minus cos x by sin x into, for cos x alone, let me separately give this limit x approaches 0 cos x. Okay, na? So e power minus limit x approaches 0. So in trigonometry we have learned that 1 minus cos x is 2 sin square x by 2, and sin x is 2 sin x by 2 cos x by 2 into, you can directly substitute x value as 0, cos 0 is going to be 1. Dear students, 2 and 2 gets cancelled, I will get sin x by 2 and its square gets cancelled. The person who was responsible for 0 in the numerator and 0 in the denominator got cancelled. Now in the remaining we can substitute x as 0, e power minus sin 0 by cos 0 will be 0 only. Of course, if it is minus 0 or plus 0, it doesn't matter. The answer is e power 0, which is 1. So the answer for this question is how much, dear students? The answer is 1. Therefore, limit x approaches 0, cos x whole power cot x is 1. So we'll go with next question. So here is our next question. limit x approaches 0, this particular function, if it is equal to e power 4, we are supposed to find the values of the unknowns p comma q. So first of all, if I take LHS, limit x approaches 0, 1 plus px plus qx square, or instead of doing it in LHS and RHS, let me do it directly. So it is given that limit x approaches 0, 1 plus px plus qx square whole power 3 by x equal to e power 4. They have given this. Okay, fine. And LHS is in what indeterminate form? If I substitute x as 0, this is 0 and this is 0. I'll get 1 plus 0 whole power 3 by 0. Obviously, it is in the form of 1 power infinity. The base is approaching 1 and the power is approaching infinity. So since it is approaching 1 power infinity form, let me convert it into this form. So how do we convert it into this form, dear students? Here 1 plus, this is f of x. And when x is approaching 0, this entire px plus qx square is also approaching 0. How it is approaching 0? If you substitute x value as 0, you'll get p into 0 plus q into 0 square. 0 only, na? So I'll take this as f of x, px plus qx square. If the base is in the form of 1 plus f of x, I want the power as 1 by f of x. So what I'll do? Limit x approaches 0, 1 plus px plus qx square. So 1 plus f of x. The power should be 1 by f of x. Since I divided with px plus qx square in the power, I will also multiply the numerator with px plus qx square. And already we have into 3 by x. Okay, na? So which is equal to e power 4. And dear students, the limiting value of this particular function is equal to e, because 1 plus f of x power 1 by f of x is e when f of x is approaching 0. And in the power, you can give this limit x approaches 0. This is common denominator, na? X you can separate. So what will you get? P plus qx into 3. Now you can substitute, which is equal to e power 4. When I substitute x value as 0, q into 0 will be 0. I'll get p into 3. So I'll get e power 3p is equal to e power 4. As the bases are equal, the powers are also equal. We will get 3p is equal to 4 and p is equal to 4 by 3. I got the value of p alone. I did not get any value of q. What is the meaning of it? It means that q value can be any real number. So p is 4 by 3 and q can be any real number. See, in the process of solving this limit, it doesn't matter what is q value. Automatically, what do you get? You will get what? Q into 0 will be 0 automatically when you substitute x as 0. So it doesn't matter what is q value. Therefore, q can be any real number, but p value is 4 by 3. Easy question only, na? Next, instead of doing this particular process every time, when the base is 1 plus f of x, I'll multiply the denominator with f of x and the numerator with f of x in the power. Instead of doing all this process, let us see what is the shortcut to solve the questions of the form 1 power infinity. Now, let us discuss the shortcut on this particular form, and after that we will solve the remaining questions. So let us discuss the shortcut to find limits of the form 1 power infinity. Okay, now. Okay, dear students, let us assume that when x is approaching a, f of x power g of x is approaching 1 power infinity. What is the meaning of it? It means that limit x approaches a, f of x power g of x is taking what form? It is taking 1 power infinity form. If that is the case, how to simplify this particular question? Let us see. Okay, now how to simplify this. So what I'm going to do is, dear students, just like how I have proved limit x approaches 0, 1 plus x whole power 1 by x as e at the starting of this video, the same way I'm going to find the shortcut. So what I'm going to do, let us see. So I want to find the value of limit x approaches a, f of x power g of x, where this is taking what form? 1 power infinity form. If that is the case, what I can do first? I can write this as e power log of f of x power g of x with base e. Both bases are same, correct or not? So how can I write f of x power g of x as this? using the property of a power log m base a, which is equal to m. Using this property, I can write m as any power a power log m base a. So I have written e power log the same function base e. Next, dear students, what I am going to do with g of x is g of x will become coefficient here. How g of x becomes coefficient? Because according to properties of logarithms, log of a power m is equal to what? The power will become coefficient m times log a. M times log a. So using this property, it becomes what? Limit x approaches a, the power g of x will become coefficient of log na. So g of x e power g of x into log of f of x with base e. Wait a second, this is lengthy process. Let me avoid this process. Instead of this, I'll do the same proof in different way. What is a different way? So we'll follow the previous question. What is it? Until the previous example, how we have simplified, we'll follow that way. What is it? So first of all, you write this base f of x as what? In this form, 1 plus. It should be in the form of 1 plus na. Then instead of f of x, let me write f of x minus 1. Okay. So I just added 1 and I have subtracted 1. Let the power be g of x itself. Now dear students, if f of x is taking the form of 1, if f of x is approaching the form of 1, if f of x is taking approaching 1, then f of x minus 1 is approaching what number? 1 minus 1, which means 0 only, right? 0 only. So therefore, if f of x is approaching 1 according to 1 power infinity form, f of x is approaching 1, then f of x minus 1 is approaching 0 only. If the base is f of x minus 1, the power should be what? Limit x approaches a, so 1 plus f of x minus 1 whole power. If the base is in the form of f of x minus 1 with 1 plus, then the power should be 1 divided by this. And already in the power we have into g of x. Dear students, this is approaching 0. Okay na? So 1 plus a function power 1 divided by same function in this particular limit is going to be what? It is going to be e. And let me give limit only for the power. I'm sorry, I forgot something here. I divided with f of x minus 1 in the denominator na. So I should also multiply this with f of x minus 1. Yes. Now you can write it as what? You can write this as e power. So what can I write? So this is going to be e power limit x approaches a, f of x minus 1 into g of x. F of x minus 1 into g of x. So dear students, this is the shortcut to find the limits of the form 1 power infinity. So therefore, dear students, so what I am going to do in problems means, if you find any function like f of x power g of x in the problems and which is approaching 1 power infinity, then what can we say? So if you find a question like limit x approaches a f of x power g of x which is approaching 1 power infinity, I can directly write as this. That means what I can write? Limit x approaches a, e power with same limit our base f of x minus 1 into g of x. I'll write this directly and I'll start solving the problems. Okay na? So already in the previous examples you can try to use this formula. You'll get the answer even quickly. Okay na? The number of steps used to solve the problem will be reduced if you use this formula. So remember this, dear students. Okay. Now let us see how to use this particular formula while solving the questions. Therefore remember before going there, remember that limit x approaches a, f of x power g of x can be written as e power limit x approaches a, f of x minus 1 into g of x. But remember, I can use this formula only when f of x power g of x is taking 1 power infinity form, not always. Okay na? I'll use this formula. So this is the shortcut to find the limits of the form 1 power infinity. Let me use this to solve the remaining questions. You can apply the same formula for the previous examples also. You can check whether you're getting the answer or not. Let me use it in upcoming examples. So here is your next example. Limit x approaches a, sin x by sin a whole power 1 by x minus a. So dear students, when x is approaching a, what happens to the base? The base is like sin a divided by sin a, which is 1. And the power is what? 1 divided by a minus a. 1 divided by 0, which is approaching infinity. So this function is taking 1 power infinity form. So since the function is taking 1 power infinity form, let me use our shortcut. So what does the shortcut says? Limit x approaches any number, f of x power g of x is equal to e power limit x approaches same value, the base f of x minus 1 into g of x. That is a shortcut. Let me use the shortcut to solve this particular question. Okay, this is f of x and this is g of x. So what is it, dear students? I can directly write it as e power limit x approaches a, base is sin x divided by sin a minus 1, base minus 1 into power into 1 by x minus a. Okay na? So e power limit x approaches a, this becomes what? By taking common denominator, sin x minus sin a into 1 is sin a. Okay na? Whole divided by sin a into 1 by x minus a. So after seeing the numerator, do you feel like using any particular formula from trigonometry? It is sin x minus sin a. Is there any formula that we can use? Of course, from transformations. We will use sin c minus sin d. E power limit x approaches a. Dear students, sin c minus sin d is 2 cos c plus d by 2 into sin c minus d by 2. Okay, remember the transformations formula properly. And let me write divided by x minus a here, and of course by sin a. Dear students, in this particular function you can substitute x as a happily. Nothing will happen. So what happens here? It is equal to limit x approaches a. If I substitute x value as a plus a is 2a, 2a by 2 is a. So this becomes a plus a by 2 is a only. So it becomes 2 into cos a by sin a. So 2 into cot a. Okay, it is a constant. And in the remaining functions, how does it look like? If it is sin f of x, the denominator should be f of x. When x is approaching a means this is approaching 0 only na, our f of x is approaching 0 only na. So sin f of x by f of x will approach 1. From trigonometric limits we learned. So if it is x minus a by 2, I want by 2 here. So I will divide with 2 and I will multiply with 2. So according to trigonometric limits, when x approaches a, this is f of x means this f of x is approaching 0, because if I substitute x as a minus a by 2 is 0. So this is approaching 0. So it is in the form of sin f of x divided by f of x. And the value of this is going to be what? 1. And don't forget this by 2 here. So what formula I have used here, dear students? Limit f of x approaches 0, sin f of x divided by f of x is 1. From trigonometric limits we have used it. So into 2 by 2 gets cancelled and the answer is e power cot a. That is the answer, dear students. So when x is approaching a, this function is approaching what answer? E power cot a. The answer is e power cot a. We'll go with next question. Next question. When n is approaching infinity, what happens to this function? X by n means x by infinity is 0, cos 0 is 1. And n square, when n is approaching infinity, n square is also approaching infinity. This particular function is again taking what form? 1 power infinity form. Because of this reason, what we will do? Let me use our shortcut formula. And what does shortcut formula says? Limit x approaches any real number, f of x power g of x. If it is taking 1 power infinity form, then we can write it as e power limit x approaches a, base minus 1 into g of x. That is what the shortcut says. So let me use that shortcut. It is equal to directly e power limit n approaches infinity, base is cos of x by n minus 1 into power n square. Next what I'll do is, dear students, please observe carefully. I'll take minus common first. So e power minus limit n approaches infinity. This becomes plus 1 and minus cos of x by n, because I have taken minus common. So into n square as it is. Next, dear students, e power minus limit n approaches infinity. 1 minus cos theta is 2 sin square theta by 2. Theta by 2 means x by n by 2. X by 2n. Okay, now let me write this as into n square as divided by 1 by n square. Into n square becomes divided by its reciprocal 1 by n square. And remember what formula we have used in trigonometry? 1 minus cos theta is 2 sin square theta by 2. Okay. Next, dear students, observe, if it is taken as f of x, when n is approaching infinity, that means the denominator is infinity, x by infinity will be 0, correct or not? If this is f of x, 0, f of x is approaching 0. If it is sin square f of x, the denominator should be f of x whole square. Okay, so what I will do for that reason? What I will do, already we have n square, I need x square by 2 square in the denominator. If this is f of x, where f of x is approaching 0, if this is sin square f of x, I want f of x whole square in the denominator. And what is f of x whole square? X square by 4n square. Already n square is there, I want x square by 4 also. So I multiplied with the denominator with x square by 4, and I will also multiply the numerator with x square by 4. So then what happens, dear students? It is e power minus limit n approaches infinity. It is 2 into, it is sin square f of x divided by f of x. That means what? Sin x by 2n divided by x by 2n whole square into x square by 4. Okay, into x square by 4. Please observe, dear students. When n is approaching infinity, this x by 2n is approaching 0. So if sin f of x by f of x, when f of x is approaching 0 is 1 according to trigonometric limits. And then e power 2 1s are 2 2s are. So this is 1. So 1 into x square by 2 with minus sign. That is the answer. The answer is e power minus x square by 2. X will be x only because in question only n is approaching infinity. They did not mention x is approaching what number. X will remain in the final answer. Okay, now the answer is e power minus x square by 2. Okay, now here what formula I have used? Limit if when n is approaching infinity, this f of x is approaching 0. So f of x means x by 2n approaching 0. Sin f of x by f of x will be 1 according to trigonometric limits. Okay, now so the answer is e power minus x square by 2. Let us go to next question. Here is our next question. When n is approaching infinity, we are supposed to find what value this function is taking. N by n plus 1 whole power lambda plus tan of 1 by n whole power n. We will see this particular function is approaching what value when n is approaching infinity. So first of all, observe that this is polynomial by polynomial, particularly linear polynomial by linear polynomial. And when n is approaching infinity, this will approach what? Its coefficient by its coefficient. This will approach 1. Already I taught this in what? In limits at infinity concept. So when the degree of these two polynomials are same, the answer will be n coefficient by n coefficient. That means here 1 divided by here 1. 1 by 1 is 1 only. Particularly when this n is approaching infinity. Okay, now and 1 power lambda will be 1 only, plus if n is approaching infinity, 1 by n is approaching 0. So tan 0 will be 0. So the entire base is approaching the number 1 and the power is approaching infinity. So the entire function is in the form of this. What is it? The entire function is in the form of 1 power infinity. So obviously let me use the shortcut to solve this. Okay. So the shortcut says we can write directly as e power limit n approaches infinity. The base is this minus 1 into the power is n. Okay now. So next what are we going to do, dear students? Now it's very important to get this idea. What is this idea means? See what I'm going to do with n by n plus 1 whole power lambda. What I'm going to do is n by n plus 1 whole power lambda is there now. Divide the numerator and denominator with n. So what do we get? If you do that, divide the numerator with n and denominator also with n. So n by n is 1 plus 1 by n. This is what you will get. Whole power lambda. Sorry, yes, whole power lambda. And the base goes to the power, it becomes what? 1 plus 1 by n whole power minus lambda. Correct or not? 1 by n whole power minus lambda. So therefore, instead of writing this, let me write this. It is equal to e power limit n approaches infinity. This becomes what? 1 plus 1 by lambda whole power 1 by 1 plus n. What is it? 1 plus 1 by n whole power minus lambda. This becomes this. Okay now. Next, plus tan of 1 by n minus 1 into n. Next, dear students, in the limits using expansions, I have told you already what I have told you already, that in particularly in limits using standard formula, I told that when x is approaching 0, 1 plus x whole power n is approximately 1 plus nx. I can multiply the power with this, I told. We can take only two terms I have told. When x is approaching 0, we can write 1 plus x whole power n as approximately 1 plus nx. So I am going to do this here. I am going to use it. It is equal to limit n approaches infinity. So this into this will be done in the next step. Because 1 by n, when n is approaching infinity, 1 by n is approaching 0 na? 1 by n is approaching 0, so I can multiply these two. 1 as it is, minus lambda into 1 by n, minus lambda by n. So plus tan 1 by n minus 1 into n as it is. So plus 1 and minus 1 will get cancelled. Next, into n becomes divided by 1 by n. Into n becomes what? Divided by 1 by n in the next step. So again, it is equal to e power limit n approaches infinity. Into n becomes divided by 1 by n. So minus lambda by n divided by 1 by n plus tan of 1 by n divided by 1 by n. See dear students, by n will get cancelled. So you will get what? When n is approaching infinity, 1 by n is approaching 0. So it is in the form of tan f of x divided by f of x. It is in the form of tan f of x divided by f of x. If f of x is approaching 0, tan f of x by f of x is approaching 1. So this entire function becomes what? E power minus lambda plus 1. That's it. This is the answer, dear students. The answer is e power minus lambda plus 1. When n is approaching infinity, 1 by n is approaching 0. So tan f of x by f of x will take 1 according to trigonometric limits. So the answer is what, dear students? E power minus lambda plus 1 for this question. So let us solve next question. Next. So let us see how to solve this question. Limit x approaches 0, a1 power x plus a2 power x plus a3 power x and so on plus an power x whole divided by n whole power 1 by x. So this is the question, dear students. So first of all, let us see this particular function is taking what form when x is approaching 0. So a1 power 0 is 1 plus a2 power 0 is 1. A3 power 0 is 1 and so on. An power 0 is also 1. So 1 plus 1 plus 1 and so on 1. 1 is added how many times? N times. So which means the numerator will become n. N by n is 1 and the power is 1 by 0 infinity. So I am trying to say that when I substitute x value as 0 in the function, I am getting 1 power infinity form. So because of that reason, let me use the shortcut. So the shortcut says it is equal to e power limit x approaches 0, the entire base minus 1 into the power 1 by x. Okay now, so first of all let me take the common denominator inside. E power limit x approaches 0, a1 power x plus a2 power x plus and so on plus an power x minus n into 1 is n whole divided by n. Up to here it's okay. The next step is very important. What I'm going to do is, dear students, we can write minus n as what? E power limit x approaches 0, a1 power x plus a2 power x plus and so on plus an power x. We can write minus n as minus 1 minus 1 and so on. Minus 1 how many times? N times. Okay now, so whole divided by n into 1 by x. Okay, minus n is written as minus 1 and so on minus 1 n times. Okay now, next let us see what I'm going to do. So next, dear students, the next step is also very crucial. What I'll do is e power limit x approaches 0. First I'll take a1 power x minus 1. Okay now, next plus a2 power x another minus 1 plus a3 power x another minus 1 and so on an power x with that last minus 1. Of course, there are n times minus 1. Each term here will get minus 1. See, this will take minus 1, this will take minus 1, the next one will take minus 1 and so on. The last one will take minus 1. There are n terms here, there are n terms here also. So they can be paired up like this. They can be easily paired up like this. So each person in this term has a minus 1. Okay, waiting for that. Next, what I will do is, I'll take by x here and by n outside. So by x here and by n outside. So by x is a common denominator. Now I can separate like this. Are you understanding this step? I took by x here and by n outside. By n outside, by x inside. By x is a common denominator now. Next, according to exponential limits, dear students, limiting value of each function is what? Limiting value of this one is log a1 base e plus, and limiting value of this function is log a2 base e plus log a3 base e and so on plus log an base e into 1 by n as it is. So we are very close to our answer, e power. We know that log a plus log b plus log c and so on will be what? Single logarithm of this into this into this into and so on. What do we get? a1, a2, a3 and so on an. And into 1 by n is coefficient of this logarithm. Correct or not? This into this only, na? I'll write 1 by n before. And we know that the coefficient of logarithm will become power of this. So what do we get in next step, dear students? So which is equal to, the coefficient will become power na. So e power log of a1, a2, a3 and so on an power 1 by n. Don't forget, yet the log has base e. So what is the formula I have used? M times log a is equal to log of a power m, and at the same time what formula I am going to use? A power log m base a is equal to m. That is the formula I am going to use. So these two bases are same only na. We can write a1, a2, a3 and so on an whole power 1 by n. Whole power 1 by n means we can also write whole power 1 by n as what, dear students? Whole power 1 by n is nothing but nth root. Nth root of a1, a2, a3 and so on an. That is the answer. The answer is nth root of a1 into a2 into a3 into and so on an. So that is the answer. Okay now. So I'll write some questions on the board. You can try it and let me know what are the answers in the comment sections. So these are 4 questions on the board. Do try them and let me know what are the answers for these 4 questions in the comment sections. So I hope you have understood how to solve these problems, and I also guess that you can try these questions on your own. So that's it for today's video, dear students. I hope you understood this. So do like the video if you have understood it, share it to your friends, and let me know any feedback in the comment sections. We'll continue in the next class. In the next video, we'll discuss about L Hospital's rule. Okay, so stay tuned. See you all. This is M. Sandeep Kumar.